The lunch rush at Porter's Steakhouse was winding down as Cameron West sat alone at table 7, dressed in worn jeans and a flannel jacket that had seen better days. At 42, he had built a restaurant empire worth hundreds of millions. But today he was undercover visiting one of his own establishments to see how his staff truly operated when they thought no one important was watching. His server, a young woman named Sophie, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, approached with a warm smile that seemed genuine rather than performative. "What can I get you today?" she asked. "The ribby, medium rare," Cameron said, deliberately keeping his tone neutral. "And water is fine." Sophie wrote down the order, then hesitated. She glanced at his worn clothing, the frayed collar of his jacket, the absence of the expensive watch most of Porter's clientele wore. Cameron could see her making calculations, deciding something. "I will put that in for you right away," she said. Her smile never wavering, Cameron watched the restaurant operations over the next 20 minutes. He saw Sophie handle a difficult customer with grace, help train a newer server, and somehow keep 6 tables running smoothly despite being understaffed. The manager, a man named Derek, who Cameron had hired 6 months ago, spent most of his time on his phone in the corner, barely supervising. When Sophie returned with his steak, she set down the plate along with his check. But she also slipped him a folded piece of paper, so discreetly that Cameron almost missed it. "Enjoy your meal," she said, with meaningful eye contact. Then moved to her next table. Cameron unfolded the note under the table, written in neat handwriting. "The steak you ordered is $58. Your total is $19.5. I told the kitchen you ordered the lunch special instead. You look like you might need the help more than this place needs the money. Pay it forward when you can." As Cameron felt his throat tighten, this young woman had seen his worn clothes and assumed he was struggling. Rather than judge or dismiss him, she had quietly adjusted his order to save him money that would likely come out of her own tips if anyone discovered what she had done. He looked at the steak on his plate. It was definitely the $58 ribby, perfectly cooked. Sophie had given him exactly what he ordered, but charged him for the cheap lunch special. Absorbing the risk herself to help a stranger she thought needed assistance, Cameron finished his meal slowly, watching Sophie work. She was attentive with every customer, regardless of their appearance or presumed wealth. She split tips evenly with the other servers, even though she clearly carried more of the workload. She patiently helped an elderly couple navigate the menu. When she brought his change, Cameron left a $100 bill, roughly 5 times what he had been charged. Sophie's eyes widened when she cleared the table. She looked around for him, but Cameron had already stepped into the restaurant office, where he found Derek scrolling through social media. "Mr. West." Derek jumped up, his face going pale. "I did not know you were. I was not expecting," clearly, Cameron said. "Tell me about your server, Sophie." "Sophie?" Derek's expression shifted to dismissive. "She is fine. Does her job. Why? How long has she worked here?" "About a year." "Look, if this is about the scheduling complaints, she just does not understand how tight our margins are. She keeps asking for more hours, but we cannot afford." "Cannot afford?" "This location grosses $8 million annually." Cameron's voice was cold. "What are her hours?" Derek checked his computer reluctantly. 25 hours a week. "She is part-time." "Why?" "Because if we make her full-time, we have to provide benefits." "It is just business, Mr. West. You taught us to watch the bottom line. I taught you to run efficient operations, not to exploit good employees." Cameron pulled out his phone. "Get Sophie in here, please." 5 minutes later, Sophie stood in the office, her face confused and worried. She clearly recognized Cameron now from the company website and photographs in the restaurant's back office. "Mr. West, if this is about the lunch special, I can explain," she started. "How long have you been working in restaurants?" Cameron interrupted. Sophie blinked at the unexpected question. "Since I was 16. About 10 years now." "And what do you want to do with your career?" "I want to be a restaurant manager eventually. Maybe even own my own place someday. But I am still learning." "What did you learn today?" Cameron asked, pulling out the note she had slipped him. Sophie's face went pale. "I am so sorry. I know I should not have, I just thought you might be struggling, and this place makes so much money, and one steak would not matter, but I know it was wrong, and why did you do it? Cameron asked quietly. Sophie stopped her spiral of apologies. Because 2 years ago, I was homeless, living in my car while working 3 jobs, trying to save enough for an apartment. A stranger at a diner saw me counting change to pay for soup, and quietly paid my bill. That kindness kept me going on the worst day of my life. I have been trying to pay it forward ever since. Cameron felt a lump in his throat. You thought I was homeless? Or struggling? Your clothes are worn. You ordered water. You had that look people get when they are trying to figure out how to afford something they really need. Sophie looked down. I am sorry I stole from the restaurant. I will pay it back from my tips. Please do not fire me. I need this job. I am not firing you, Cameron said. I am promoting you. Derek is no longer manager of this location. You are, as of right now, full-time. Salary? Full benefits. Starting immediately. Sophie and Derek both stared at him in shock. Mr. West, you cannot be serious, Derek sputtered. She is just a server. She has no management experience. She has something more important than experience. She has judgment, compassion, and the ability to see people as humans instead of profit margins. Cameron looked at Derek coldly. You have been cutting hours to save on benefits while paying yourself bonuses. You have been scheduling fewer servers than needed and pocketing the labor savings. I have been watching the numbers. You are fired, effective immediately. Derek started to protest. But Cameron's security, who had been waiting outside, escorted him out. Cameron turned back to Sophie, who looked like she might faint. Can you handle managing this location? I do not know, Sophie said honestly. But I will work harder than anyone to learn. That is the right answer. Cameron handed her Derek's manager badge. You were willing to risk your job to help someone you thought needed it. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. I would rather have a manager with heart who learns the business than a skilled manager who lost his humanity. Over the following months, Sophie transformed the Porter's Steakhouse location. She improved staff morale, reduced turnover, and increased customer satisfaction scores to the highest in the company. But more importantly, she created a culture of compassion, training servers to look out for customers who might be struggling, implementing a quiet program to provide meals to those in need. A year after that lunch, Cameron called Sophie to corporate headquarters. She entered his office nervously, still not entirely comfortable with her success. I have a proposition, Cameron said. I want to expand the compassion program you started to all 47 Porter's locations. But I need someone to lead it. Someone who understands both the business side and the human side. Interested? Sophie's eyes went wide. You want me to run a program for the entire company? I want you to be VP of Operations and Community Impact. You will oversee restaurant operations and this new initiative. It is a big job. But a year ago, you risked everything to help a stranger. I think you can handle it. Through her tears, Sophie nodded. At the company meeting announcing her promotion, Cameron told the story of their first meeting, how Sophie had seen someone she thought was struggling, and quietly helped without expecting recognition or reward. This is what Porter's is supposed to be about, he said. Not just serving expensive steaks to wealthy people, but creating spaces where everyone feels valued. Sophie reminded me of that when I had forgotten. She slipped me a note that changed everything, not just for me, but for this entire company. If this story reminded you that compassion matters more than profit, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment about when someone's kindness changed your perspective.